Have you ever walked into your kitchen in the morning, only to pause at the counter and think, how did it get this messy again? You don't remember leaving that towel there. You don't recall letting the dishes pile up. And yet, here you are again, tired, before the day has even begun. I remember the day I visited my friend Carol. She's 79, lives alone in a small house on the edge of town. Nothing fancy. But when I walked in, something shifted in me. The light was soft, the table was clear, and I could just breathe. I asked her how she kept things so tidy. She laughed gently and said, "Oh, honey, I don't clean all day, I just do a few things, but I do them every day." That surprised me, because I always thought tidy people had more help, more energy, or maybe even less stuff. But Carol had what many of us still long for, a home that feels gentle. Not perfect, just peaceful. And here's something no one really says out loud. At a certain age, clutter doesn't just feel messy, it feels like we're losing control. We begin to wonder, is this how life unravels? Slowly, item by item? We fear becoming invisible in our own space, like the world is moving forward, but we're stuck, surrounded by things that used to mean something, and now just weigh us down. But the truth is, you don't need more strength or more time. You just need a few soft, steady habits. Habits that older women like Carol live by, not because they're perfect, but because they've learned what truly matters. In this video, I'm going to share 12 quiet things tidy seniors do every single day. No rushing, no shame, no checklists to stress over. Just simple actions that can help you feel more at home again, with your home and with yourself. And I hope you'll stay with me to the very end, because habit 12, it's not about folding, wiping, or organizing, but it might be the one thing that makes every other habit finally feel worth doing. Before we begin, I'd love to know, where are you watching from, and how has your relationship with your home been lately? We read every single comment, and your story might be just what someone else needs today. Let's begin with the very first habit that quietly changes the tone of the whole house: making the bed. Part 1. Make your bed first thing. Have you ever walked past your bedroom and felt a little unsettled, just because the bed was still messy from this morning? Like somehow, the whole day was off balance, even if everything else looked fine? Seniors with tidy homes know this. The day begins not with coffee, not with the news, but with the bed. Just 2 minutes. Smooth the blanket, straighten the pillows. No perfection needed. It's not about impressing anyone. It's about starting your day with a small win. My friend Nancy, who's 83, told me this as we folded sheets one afternoon. She said, "I don't make the bed for tidiness. I make it so I don't feel like the day owns me." I asked her what she meant. She said, "When I retired, I was afraid my time would get loose, like water through fingers. But when I make my bed, I feel anchored again." And maybe that's something we don't always say out loud. That fear of losing structure, of slipping into invisibility. But this small act, done quietly, faithfully, can remind us we're still showing up for our lives. I didn't always make the bed. I thought it didn't matter. But then I started just to try, and the room changed. I changed. It felt like a tiny message to myself. You still care. You still get to begin again. Nancy once told me, a made bed doesn't just tidy the room, it softens the whole day. I believe her. If you're willing, try it tomorrow, just once, and see how it feels to walk back into a room that welcomes you. You can do this too. And once that simple rhythm is in place, let's talk about another tiny shift that might just protect your peace more than anything else. Part 2. One-touch rule. Never leave things out. Have you ever put something down just for now, only to find it still sitting there days later? There's a quiet rule that seniors with clean homes live by, even if they don't always say it out loud. It's called the one-touch rule. It means this: if you touch something, finish the action. Hang it up. Put it away. Don't let it linger. My Aunt Miriam, 79, never made a fuss about cleaning, but every time she used something, she returned it. One towel, one cup, one pair of glasses. I once asked her how she kept everything in order. She just smiled and said, "Things don't wander in this house." She told me, "It's not about being neat, it's about being kind to your future self." And that made me pause, because I realized every item I leave out is a little weight for the version of me who comes later. The tired version, the overwhelmed one, the one who just wanted to sit down without being reminded of all the unfinished things. I once left a cardigan on the couch for over a week. It wasn't a big mess, but every time I passed by, I felt a quiet heaviness. The moment I folded it and placed it back, the entire room breathed easier. So did I. Miriam once told me, "I've lived long enough to know that clutter doesn't arrive loudly. It whispers. It gathers slowly when we stop completing the smallest things." So the next time you pick something up, don't set it aside. Just carry it to its home. One soft motion. One clear decision. You can do this too. And now that your space is breathing a little easier, let's turn to something even gentler. The habit of wiping away the day, one surface at a time. Here's the next part of your 25-minute script, written exactly to your specifications. Natural American English, soft storytelling tone, with emotional insight, and one gentle push per segment. No line breaks, no annotations, just a clean script ready to use. Part 3. Wipe the surface, not just the mess. No one talks about how one tiny fingerprint can weigh on your whole day. Most seniors with clean homes don't wait for big spills or messes to pull out a cloth. They wipe surfaces not because they're dirty, but because they care. The act isn't about cleaning. It's about staying ahead of the heaviness. I remember visiting Mrs. Thompson, who's 81, one quiet afternoon. She poured tea for us both, and just before sitting down, she reached for a soft cloth and gently wiped the edge of her kitchen counter. No crumbs, no stains, just a swipe. I asked if it was out of habit. She smiled and said, "I wipe not to remove dirt, but to remind the space I'm still here." That moment stayed with me, because beneath the cloth, I saw something deeper. At a certain age, you want to feel like your presence matters, that your hands still shape the day, that your home still hears you moving through it. For me, wiping a surface became less about polish, more about intention. It helped me feel like I was choosing to care, not because I had to, but because I could. Mrs. Thompson once whispered something I'll never forget. When your hands no longer carry groceries or hold babies, they can still hold care. One cloth, one moment. That's all it takes to say, "This still matters." If you keep a cloth nearby, within reach, not hidden in a drawer, you might find yourself wiping just because it feels good. And I promise, you can do this too. Now, let's talk about something else that often piles up, not just in baskets, but in our minds: the quiet burden of laundry. Part 4. One load of laundry a day. There's something quietly overwhelming about a laundry basket that's too full. Like the pile wasn't just clothes, it was decisions, effort, and fatigue stacked on top of each other. Seniors with clean homes don't wait for the basket to overflow. They wash one small load a day, not because they love doing laundry, but because it's gentle, it's doable. It doesn't feel like a mountain. My neighbor Ellen, 76, once told me she does a little wash every morning, right after brushing her teeth. One towel, one blouse, maybe 2 pillowcases. Nothing heavy. She said, "I treat it like a cup of tea. Quiet, light. It just becomes part of the rhythm. I asked her if it ever felt like a chore. She said, only when I waited too long, then it felt like regret. And that's the part no one talks about. It's not the effort of laundry that drains us. It's the delay, the waiting, the knowing it's there and still choosing to avoid it until it grows into guilt. I used to do laundry once a week, and every time I'd dread it, I'd avoid it. I'd tell myself I needed more energy. But then I started doing just one little load each day. A small cycle, a light hang dry. It was like giving myself back control without any drama. Ellen once shared this: I wash little by little, so nothing piles up. Not the clothes, not the weight on my shoulders. So today, maybe you don't have to tackle the whole basket. Maybe just choose one thing. One towel. One shirt. Let the hum of the washer be your background music. You can do this too. And if that one clean item makes your day feel a bit more steady, imagine what tomorrow might feel like when you end it without a single dirty dish in the sink. Part 5. Never go to bed with dirty dishes. Sometimes it's not the mess that's heavy. It's the feeling of waking up to it. A few years ago, I stayed with Aunt Mary, 76, after her hip surgery. One night after dinner, I offered to wash the dishes later. She smiled gently and said, "That's okay, sweetheart, but I've learned one thing. If I go to bed with a dirty sink, I wake up already tired." She wasn't being fussy. She was being kind to herself. She moved slowly, rinsed 2 plates, wiped the sink, and lit a little candle on the counter. The kitchen glowed quietly behind her counter as she turned in. That moment stayed with me because I remembered how often I used to leave dishes in the sink, telling myself I'd deal with it in the morning. But morning always came with guilt, with crusty pans, with a bad mood before coffee. Tidy older women don't do this out of obsession. They do it because they've learned the art of soft closure, of ending the day with nothing chasing after them. She once told me, "The sink is like your mind. If you clear it at night, the next morning feels like a clean page." And she was right. I started with just one thing, one mug, one plate. Now it's become my own small ritual. Maybe tonight, you could do the same. Not perfectly, not everything. Just enough to say, today is complete. Because the kitchen isn't just where we cook. It's where we close the day with dignity. And speaking of things that pile up silently, let's talk about the one kind of clutter that sneaks into every corner before we even notice it. Part 6. Sort papers before they scatter. They don't take up much space, but they take up all your peace. I once visited a friend named Rose, 81, who had the most peaceful little home. Everything had its place, except the paper. The kitchen counter had unopened mail. The hallway table had receipts. Her nightstand had old prescriptions. She laughed and said, "It's the only mess that still wins sometimes." But then she showed me her new habit, a tray near the door with 3 compartments. To keep, to toss, to act on. Every paper went there the moment she came home, not later, not when I have time. Right away, she said, the longer it waits, the heavier it feels. And it's true. A single paper rarely overwhelms us, but a growing pile becomes invisible stress, especially for seniors who can't bend as easily, who forget what's underneath, or who fear missing a bill or a doctor's note. I remember how many times I let mail stack up, thinking it wasn't a big deal. But it always ended the same way. A lost check, a missed appointment, and that quiet shame that comes with losing track. Now, I keep a small tray near my front door. I sort it standing up. It takes 60 seconds, maybe less. But it saves me hours of worry. Tidy older women don't just clean what shows. They manage what overwhelms quietly. If your kitchen table has become a paper graveyard, you're not alone. Maybe today, Just clear one corner. Create one spot that says, everything has a place. Because when paper has a path, your mind does too. And next, we'll look at the one habit that takes no strength, no product, and yet, it changes the whole mood of your home every morning. You can do this too. Part 7. Let the house breathe too. You ever notice how a room feels heavier when the windows stay shut? It's not about smell, it's about energy. Air that doesn't move turns a house into a box. Miss Clara, my neighbor, used to open her windows every morning. Rain or shine, summer or fall. She once told me, even when I can't walk far anymore, at least I can let the house take a breath. It hit me harder than I expected, because the truth is, a house needs to breathe, just like we do. Not just to stay fresh, but to stay alive. I used to skip this step. I told myself I'd open a window after breakfast or later in the afternoon. But by then, the air was stale, and so was my mood. Now, first thing in the morning, I crack the kitchen window while waiting for the kettle to boil. Even 5 minutes is enough to shift something inside the room. And inside me, Clara once said, a window is like an exhale. You let the old out so the new can come in. So, if your home has felt heavy lately, maybe it's not just the dust. Maybe it's asking for a breath too. Try it tomorrow. A small breeze, a small ritual. You can do this too. And once the air moves freely, you'll begin to notice the quiet spots that could use just a little more love. Part 8. Dust what you touch. Not every mess is obvious. Some cling to the edges of our daily rhythm. The drawer handle, the bedside lamp, the remote control. You use them every day, but rarely wipe them. Ms. Eileen, 83, has a rule. If I touch it, I wipe it. Just once, just lightly. Her home doesn't sparkle, but it never feels dull. That's the difference. I remember visiting her one Sunday. She offered me tea, then gently wiped the light switch by the hallway. Not dirty, she said. Just gathering yesterday's quiet. That stayed with me, because I realized it wasn't about being spotless. It was about paying attention, about tending to the places we live through. I used to only clean what I saw. Now I dust what I use. One cloth, one gesture, while passing by. They say seniors have slower lives, but that's not true. They just move with care. They know that peace isn't found in perfection. It's built from little acts of noticing. You don't need to scrub the whole room. Maybe today, just wipe the handle you reached for this morning, the lamp you switch off every night. Those touches are your life, and they deserve to feel loved. Next, we'll talk about a small but powerful ritual that happens before bed, not to clean, but to reset your energy. Part 9. Quick reset before bed. There's something sacred about how a day ends. I once asked my aunt, she's 79 now, why her home always looked calm in the morning. She said, because I never go to sleep with yesterday still lying around. Before she turns off the lights, she does what she calls her reset walk. Fluffs the pillow on the couch, puts the remote back, folds the towel, straightens a book. Takes less than 10 minutes. But when she wakes up, the house greets her like a friend who prepared a place for her return. I tried it, not as a rule, but as an invitation. And that small act of order, it softened the night. No mess glaring at me first thing. No clutter dragging yesterday into today. It's not about cleaning. It's about releasing. About giving your future self a fresh canvas. Auntie once told me, I don't do it because I'm tidy. I do it because it helps me sleep lighter. Maybe tonight, before heading to bed, you could take a short walk through your home, not to fix, just to restore. You can do this too. And if you've ever skipped cleaning because the cloth or the broom felt too far away, the next habit will help more than you think. Part 10. Keep cleaning tools where you use them. Most of us don't avoid cleaning because it's hard. We avoid it because the tools feel out of reach. Miss Joanne, who lives down the street, keeps a tiny cloth in every room. One under the bathroom sink, one in the kitchen drawer, one in the hallway table. She once told me, if I have to go looking, I won't do it. But if it's there, I'll wipe it without even thinking. That changed the way I saw cleaning. It's not about willpower. It's about design. I started placing a cloth under my coffee table, a small broom near the back door, a sponge in the guest room. And just like that, wiping stopped being a task. It became part of breathing. You don't need fancy baskets. Just make things reachable, visible. Ready. One viewer once shared this in a comment. When I stopped hiding my cleaning cloths, my house stopped hiding its peace. So maybe today, open one drawer, add one cloth, create one small shortcut for your future self, and soon, those tiny touches will become rhythms. You can do this too. Next, let's talk about the floor, because nothing makes a home feel cleaner than what your feet walk on first. Part 11. Sweep the path you walk. What's the first thing your bare feet touch in the morning? For most people, it's the floor. And yet, we forget how much the floor shapes how we feel. A few crumbs, a bit of dust. It may not seem like much, but it steals the calm I remember visiting my friend Elaine. She's 82 now. Her home isn't fancy, but it always feels light, clear. I asked her once what her secret was, and she smiled. I just sweep the places my feet love most. The kitchen path. The spot near her favorite chair. The hallway where sunlight lands at 9 a.m., nothing more. No deep cleaning, no heavy vacuum. Just a soft broom and a daily rhythm. She calls it sweeping the welcome back into my home. That made me rethink everything I used to wait until dust gathered into clumps, until I could see the dirt. But by then, I was already overwhelmed. Now, I sweep a little each morning, and it changes my whole pace, because when the path beneath you is clear, your mind follows. Elaine once said, if I take care of the floor, the house takes care of me. And I believe her. Maybe tomorrow morning, you could sweep just one small space where you stand the most. You don't need to cover the whole house, just the paths your feet remember. And now for the final habit, one that isn't about effort at all, but about presence. Part 12. Enjoy the peace you made. Have you ever sat down after cleaning and rushed off to the next thing? So many of us do. We tidy, wipe, sort, fold, and then forget to enjoy what we just created. But tidy older women? They don't skip this part. Mrs. Yuna, a soft-spoken widow in her 70s, told me something once I'll never forget. After she finishes her evening reset, she pours tea. Just for herself. No guests, no agenda. She sips it while sitting in her quiet, clean room. No noise, no to-do list. Just the stillness she made with her own hands. She told me, the point isn't a clean house. It's how the clean house holds me afterward. That moved me deeply. I used to jump from task to task. Even when I'd finished everything, I'd feel restless. But I started adding a pause, a breath, a cup of tea beside a tidy sink, a few soft notes of music, a smile at how the light falls on the floor, and something shifted. When we sit in the peace we made, it teaches us. It grounds us. It reminds us that caring for our space is also caring for ourselves. So maybe tonight, after you tidy a little corner, don't rush away. Sit there. Let the silence wrap around you. You can do this too. And now, one last thought. One I hope stays with you long after the screen fades. Living light isn't about cleaning. It's about caring. We didn't just talk about chores today. We talked about care, attention, and the kind of quiet love that doesn't need praise. Tidy homes aren't built on hard work. They're built on small choices. Repeated with kindness. You don't need more time or more energy, just gentler habits and a heart that believes you deserve to live in a space that feels safe, light. And yours, if today's video helped you feel even a little more hopeful, leave me one small note in the comments. What's the one habit you'd like to try this week? Because your story might be the spark someone else needed today. And if you know a friend who feels overwhelmed by their home right now, send this to them, not as pressure, but as a soft hand on the shoulder that says, "You're not alone." Living light isn't about getting rid of everything. It's about making space for what truly supports you now. So wherever you are, whatever your pace, know this: you can do this too, and you don't have to do it all today. I'll see you in the next gentle video, my friend. Until then, breathe easy and take care of your space like it's part of you.